going to record
Well,
it.
I charge.
Yep.
I charge to be recorded, so I'll send you the bill. It's a hefty one.
So let me just introduce. So SueAnne is an expert in common law, and so we're here just discussing kind of the ins and outs of common law and how you can use common law to really take back your power against the legal system, which is really created to really disempower the public. But we do have a lot of power, and so I'm really excited to hear what SueAnne has to offer here with her knowledge on common law. So without further ado, I want to introduce SueAnne. Thank you for being here.
Welcome. I love to be here. Garrett had me do a little write-up, and it's something that a lot of people need to know. Okay, I started in 1994, and one of my clients sent me to a meeting because he couldn't go, and I learned then that I didn't owe taxes. And so I spent a little time, doing tax information, and I've not paid taxes since 1989.
Amazing. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, and then in 1990 and after 1994, I started with different places in town, and it grew and went all the way up to Roseville, California. But in 1996, one of the things I did was that I was a computer specialist. I did anything to do with computers. And so I made quite a bit of money. So I found somebody to do all my law research for me. So he'd go in, look at the cases, and he would only give me those cases which were of relevance to what I was interested in. And when he did that, then I would read the cases, and then I would compile them into a document. So I got lots of documents that have a lot of court cases in it that are really good. And then in 1996, I did a letter, and the letter was astounding. So much so that for the longest time, I couldn't believe that I even wrote the letter. It was like it came through me, not from me. So anyway, the gentleman was re-roofing his house, and they wanted him to get a building permit. And when I was done, the city of Mendota fired the business manager, the city attorney, and they wanted to fire the building inspector, but he went on 4 months leave of absence. When he came back, no one wanted his job. And of course, I had several tickets from 1995 through 2009. And one of the biggest challenges I had was in 2000, I was in an automobile accident.
SueAnne, real quick before we move on. And
Yes?
Dave, could you keep me unmuted the whole time?
Sure.
Thank you. How dare you? So SueAnne, I just want to be clear, when you say that nobody wanted his job, because this was a big aha moment for me, is when you taught me that people are in their private jobs when they take these positions with the government, and you can hold these people accountable personally. It's not because they
Okay,
because
Garrett,
they'll try to hide behind the institution, but it's like no.
Garrett, I'm going to get to that issue.
Okay.
No, I'm not letting that go. That's because before we started this call, I was finishing up my complaint for the county and city of San Francisco for their employees, because actually helping the employees. And there's something I will read that you'll really like, okay? Anyway, so I had this accident in 2000, and when they after they took me to the hospital, the doctors told my family that I had 10% chance of living. And but if I lived, I would be some sort of a vegetable all my life. I'm not sure what type of vegetable. But it took me 12 years to recover to where I am now, and I still have several different challenges, but the law is not one of them. And today I had to finish up a complaint, and I had somebody else helping me, and I told them last night, well, we need to get to this area here, but let's finish all the others and then we'll go back to that. Well, at 11:20, we both decided we were really tired and ready to go to sleep, so we did that. Anyway, so the idea is that there are you have the people, okay? So the people created several documents that are very important to us, but because you've gone to a federal school, you don't realize that, but all your schooling is a federal school. And in that federal school, the feds tell you what you need to learn. And they start out by reading, writing, and arithmetic, but then they have like your Constitution and other areas. And of course, they get you into sports and get you sidetracked and things like that. So all of this is to be able to manipulate you. And then I watched as they started putting up fences around schools, and that irritated me to no end. And you know, and now they don't teach the Constitution or anything to do with it. And they talked about the common law, but they kind of poo-pooed it. In California, they'll tell you that there is no common law. Well, unfortunately, the Constitution was written so that every state was a Republican form of government. Now you hear Biden talk about the democracy. Well, I don't know where he's at, but I live in a republic, and so I utilize that. But a federal school means it isn't local, and everything local is Republican, and it's the people that are to have the rights, which is in the Constitution, plus many other rights. But if you use the Constitution, it helps a lot. So, but
So could you, so I'm hearing like the school, federal system, and they're kind of indoctrinating us with,
yes,
learn what we need to learn, and they're not really teaching common law. They're not teaching the Constitution anymore. So how would you define in simple terms, like what common law is versus like what civil law or what we generally practice in kind of like the court system?
Okay. The common law is the right of the people. It came from England. And when it came to the United States, it got changed to American common law because of the Constitution.
Was that based on maritime law in England? So like, because wasn't
they have English common law.
Okay.
And we have American common law. The difference is our Constitution. Okay. And if you don't have that Constitution, you will not be able to utilize your common law because of the Constitution. Okay. Now the Constitution is the way we formed the government. So the Constitution itself is to create a government. We, the people, created the government. We gave them certain powers. And then when they had constitutions in each of the state, we gave them powers through the Constitution for the state.
So we kind of have more rights in this country because of our Constitution than in England, for example.
Right, but you have even more right under the common law. And under the common law, these are what in the preamble of the American Constitution, it says the people create that government, and they are it is done by the consent of the governed. Okay.
Does that consent have to be all the time? Like if there's not consent of the people, like right now, if I decide there's no consent now, does that change things?
Oh yeah, it does. Okay. But you have to be able to voice that, and you have to voice it in a way that they have to accept it. Okay. And what has happened, because we were all federally educated, now what the government is doing is they're saying, no, we're in charge. Well, no. If you look at the government code in California, section 100 says the sovereignty of the state is in the people thereof. Now, what does that mean? Well, the state has sovereignty, but it comes from the people. And if the people say no, it's no one can do anything about that. Now, how do you get the people to say no? You have to get a certain percentage of the state. And in California, the referendum is one of the means. It's one of the means. And if you can get 10% of the population making a statement that you don't want something, such as Newsom, our wonderful governor, which I don't think he was properly elected to start with, but that's another story. Then once you get 10% of the people, that becomes a referendum. Then they go out and ask the rest of the people, who do you want as your governor? And currently we have a gentleman by the last name of Elder, and he has 16%. He has the highest level. Now we're going to do the Dominion machines again. I wonder what's going to happen. I think maybe Newsom may be reelected based upon the Dominion or someone similar to him. But that's another story. Anyway, so, we've got all these wonderful things, but the Constitution is an ironclad document that tells the government how the people want them to operate. And now they take an oath, but how many times do they actually follow it? They don't. And the reason they don't is because people are too busy being in front of the television, going for vacations, going watching sports, anything but to understand the law. And
SueAnne, I'd like to just say something about that. I turned my video off because I'm walking and I don't want that to distract people. What you said to me really was a light bulb, which was when we write the check, we get a speeding ticket, it's like, okay, here's your $300. So what you said was when we pay them to just get them away from us, that keeps it all going.
It does. Okay.
Right.
And so, since SueAnne, since we have just a finite time, I'd love you to kind of go into like in the current state with chiropractors, doctors, nurses who are getting these mandates, being told what to do. How can they use common law? So I'm understanding like we can kind of use common law to kind of stand up with our rights, and there's a certain process of doing that with common law. So can you kind of take us through that with the specifics of like healthcare professionals, doctors, small business owners that are getting blackmailed into enforcing these draconian laws, into like shutting down their practices, into wearing masks, into vaccinating themselves without their consent?
Okay. Well, right now, we're working with the city and county of San Francisco employees who have done what is called a conditional acceptance. In other words, whenever they send you a notice in your name and sign it that it came from so-and-so, right? That's an offer. Okay. And we look at it and say, well, we don't know whether it's good or bad. It really doesn't matter. But what we want to do is that we want to answer that offer.
And so that could be like a letter mandate that a business gets. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So somebody gets a letter from the health department stating that everybody needs to get vaccinated, or they have to do a PCR test, and they have to fill out a survey, and so then based upon that, we will then know what to do with you. Okay. Well, that's discrimination. I'm sorry. It's discrimination. So whenever they send you an offer, you must respond. And we have two different types of letters you can respond with. Okay. One is a direct and constructive notice. Okay.
SueAnne, real quick before I forget, this might be technical, but if they're going to send you something and they want you to take it seriously, shouldn't it have to be a more formal notice that they give you? Like, I mean, I know they wouldn't do this, but it's like, I want every single nurse and every single chiropractor, et cetera, to get a registered piece of mail.
Well, that's not quite the way.
Why should I respond?
Okay. You have to understand,
Okay.
It's just an offer. And they're being very polite about their offer. So you're going to do either a constructive notice. If it's not signed, you don't know who to send it to, or you can do what is called a conditional acceptance. Are you familiar with that?
Okay. Yeah, I have heard this. Like, I think Garrett was telling me with the parking ticket, like
Speeding ticket.
Speeding ticket. I will accept this offer if you show me that you have the right to domain over me, to find me all these things, right?
Okay. Now, and I'm working with, one of the things I really would have liked is to be able to change, because I didn't want my email address, that I don't use that one for law. And that's on the screen. I don't know how.
Oh,
yeah.
I think you might be able to. I can rename you. I'm gonna. How's that? I just renamed you.
That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Anyway, so the idea is that you do a conditional acceptance, and that in that you say, oh, you know what? I'm willing to do that. But first you have to prove these points, and then you give them a long list. Okay. And we actually have a website where you can go to, okay, get the one for healthcare people, and and follow it and get that done first. Because if you don't do that first, then the rest, it'll be really hard to do the rest. Okay. Once you've done that and you get it through, there are 4 letters, and you get it through the 4th letter, and then
There are 4 letters for each one for the direct.
no,
constructive notice?
there's one you send 1 letter out. If they don't respond from the first letter, then you send them a second one, and then after they don't respond on that one, then you do the last 2, which is a default and an estoppel. And when
is this for the direct constructive letter?
Yeah.
notice? Okay.
No, the direct and constructive letter is a little bit different, but you go through the same process.
Do you for conditional one acceptance letter? There's 4 letters that kind of go out. So there's the first one. And then,
Okay, now,
yeah.
One of the things that we do is that we have a place where you can go to and start the process. Okay, and I will tell you what we do is that we have all of the different types of letters. So if you've got kids going to school and you want to stop them from having a problem with the school, we have a set of letters there. We have a set of letters for health care professionals. We've got teachers. We've got people who are just going to regular work. So we have different ones there. And the way we do it is that we ask you to provide $100 to get on the site and get the letters. Okay. And then if you complete the process and make sure that you notify the owner of the website, he will return your $100. So you get your money back once you've done the entire process. Now, if you start it and you don't finish it, then you don't get your $100 back.
Well, that's
okay.
an incentive.
Yeah. So it's just an incentive to get people to do it. And so we have one on this website, and the website is commonerlaw.com. And that's common, ERLAW.com.
Okay, and that's where they can get the letters.
That's where they can get the letters. Okay.
So real quick, guys, I'd like to speak to what I think is the elephant in the room right now, which is because Dave, when you called me, I'm just going to say this because you're videoing it. You know, I just won my case with a speeding ticket with sending these letters. They dismissed my speeding ticket. It was so amazing. So as far as healthcare workers, I mean, there's so many of them, and not just healthcare workers, you know, so many people with their jobs are who want to live with choice. I can't believe I even have to say that. Yeah, I think the elephant in the room is, are people willing to not roll over and say, because for me, it was like, this might not work with the speeding ticket, but it worked. So I just think so many people aren't even willing. They're like, oh, what's that common law stuff? Or they just think they have no power. So to me, that's the first kind of tier conversation, is like, are people willing to do something other than say, okay, or I quit? Because for me, it's like, well, you don't quit, you sue them before you quit.
Well, I think it's like, you know, what are the options? Do the options work? You know, and like, you know, yes, it worked for your speeding ticket. I would love to hear about stories where it worked for doctors or small businesses or people like that. You know, so I'd love to hear your view on that, SueAnne.
Okay. Well, since I've done the letters for a number of employees for the city and county of San Francisco.
In regards to mandates like vaccine mandates?
Yeah. And we're in court right now.
Awesome.
And they were to force them to sign a survey, either wear masks and be PCR test or get the injection. Okay. And we just we got it filed, and I just finished not more than a half hour ago, the amendment to the complaint, which will be viewed on Wednesday, next Wednesday. Okay. And would you like me to read one of the paragraphs that I found very fascinating? And I just happen to have it on my, I
Yeah,
thought it was
I think that's a topic that people are very interested in. We have lots of people that are concerned about that, and it's happening right now.
right.
So
Okay.
that'd be great.
All right. So we did this complaint. Okay. And so this is what I consider the pivotal paragraph in the complaint. Okay. And I think the complaint is 13 pages long. Okay. But this is just one paragraph. Consequently, as Eisen and the city had two deadlines for compliance, which approached on Thursday, August 12th, 2021, and was to be initiated on August 16th, 2021, there was a clear, present, and impending danger to the rights and liberties of all city and county of San Francisco employees. Could Eisen and the city be allowed to continue to violate the law and the rights of their employees by implementing enforcement of their draconian directives, orders, and mandates starting on or about August 12th, 2021, without the opportunity for the employees to be heard or for the matter to be debated? Serious deprivations of all employers' rights will take place. As a result of the filing of this case, Eisen and the city have done nothing and will continue to do nothing until this case has been heard and determined by this court. So the clear and present danger is only on hold until the court decides if the people should have unalienable rights violated just because the complainants made a choice to be our public servants and risk their life and fortune for the public, even though Eisen and the city could not respond properly to the conditional acceptance. And then I put in, see the references on the acceptance, because you put that in the back of the case, okay? Is this complaint sufficient for these people to retain their rights to life, liberty, and property?
And so you filed that was the conditional acceptance, or?
Okay, this
SueAnne for president.
This has to have some names put into it, and the gentleman wants to file it tomorrow. So that will be filed tomorrow.
So it's being filed. So we're kind of testing out whether this specifically will work in San Francisco right now with this, and if they will, in which hopefully they will, like most likely.
Okay. Well,
I mean, how do we get news coverage if it does work? I mean, so that people know about this, because that's a
they will never give you that opportunity. Right. Okay.
What we're talking about here is, this is about individual rights. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all we're talking about. It's very simple.
Yes, it is.
People think they have no power, and we are the principal. Is that how you say it, SueAnne?
Yes, we are. We are the principal, and
that's it. It's like, I'm not taking your bullshit. I'm not taking your fucking needle. That's it. Fuck you. Bye.
Well,
I bring the
I-
class. I bring the
I try-
class.
yeah, well, I kill them with kindness. That's my idea.
Garrett
Not
does the
me.
opposite.
You make statements and you go, what does this really mean? Is the court going to support me, or are they going to support the county and the city? Oh, I don't think so. They
Right.
can't do that, because when you put it in those terms, they have a real challenge getting that done.
Because you can't trump
hang on a
individual
sec.
rights.
Hang on a
Yeah.
sec. So SueAnne, so people that are getting these mandates right now from the hospital,
Uh-huh.
I mean, time is kind of the essence for these people to like respond to these letters. So
Yes.
they talk to you, or they go to that commonerlaw.com, they get the letter.
And it has all the information in it. If
They
have
start
any,
the process.
Garrett,
okay, and
you're not helping
if they let me finish, and if they have any questions, okay, there's an email that they send it to, and then it's filtered out. We have 4 different people right now that are on the board, okay, and actually the gentleman that created the conditional acceptance, okay, his name is Fritz, and he's very, very good at what he does. And we were on the phone until 11:30 last night, working on this complaint.
So can I mean, a lot of
So
people,
Dave,
wait, hang on, Garrett, hang on.
No.
Be quiet.
This is
Wait,
Just a minute.
Dave. No, wait. This is simple. Once you start the process and you send it to them, the first letter has been sent. It's over. You
yeah.
started the process.
And
That's
does
all
each
you have to do.
individual have to send this letter, or can there be a group that sends it?
Individual. It
Individual.
has,
Okay.
it all has. Okay. See, if you had been taught in school about the Constitution, you would have found that the Constitution is a document in which you are responsible to keep the government in line. Well, we're now working with the government and trying to keep as employees that they also have to keep them in line, because they will start doing these things. And see, this actually started at the beginning of this country, trust me, but it got really worse when we had the Civil War. And from that point on, they have been encroaching on us a little bit at a time, and they do it from several different areas. And then the more you know, the more they will try to push that they have this right when they don't have the right.
So
winning-
to me, the
winning in
crux
court
is.
with it.
So of course they're winning in court. So to me, the crux of all of this and why we're doing this call is because all of this is happening with our consent.
Yes,
That's
it
the
is.
problem.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean,
as long as you consent, it's called tacit law. If you do not say anything, then they have the right to do it.
Right. It's the default.
And
Yeah.
that's really the critical point right now, is that, I mean, if these hospitals that are having these mandates, I mean, if just a few people stand up, even, they are going to lose their doctors, they're going to lose their nurses. They can't really afford to do that. And so if enough people challenge, they will have to step back from these draconian mandates. That's why
Yeah, but Dave, but hold on a second. To me, it's more urgent than that. Would I like that happened, that it got to be a critical mass where they would have to rethink? Sure. But for me, what's much more relevant is one person doing it. I fought my speeding ticket and won. I don't care if everyone does it. I did it. So we don't have to wait until every doctor, or every nurse. It's just one person sends a letter. Now I've responded.
Yeah.
Now
Okay.
the game has changed.
Okay. Now, also, the case that we've got going, okay, as all those individuals came together in the case. And as all these and we've got 150 right now, okay? We have 150 people who are going to this one case and saying this has happened to me. And then we also in our complaint say that the people who have done the individual letter to all these people, okay, each one of them will put that in a packet, and we attach it to the back of the complaint, okay? So we have all of these people with having done these letters, and we're attaching it, and so it's kind of like, okay, we've got, it isn't one person that goes into the case, but you do have to go to the case, otherwise only the court can give you remedy. Okay, but if people had known that, like in 1775, every 14-year-old knew what a demur was. Do you know what a
Right.
demur?
No idea.
Okay, well, why is it that we do not know that?
Because we're too busy knowing what the commercial songs are for
Yes,
fruit juices and cartoons.
that's right. Okay, they don't want us to know. Once you find out how it works, okay, and that you are personally responsible to keep your government in line, and if you don't do that, they will come after you because you have agreed. How did you agree? By keeping silent.
Right.
And then what you do is you give them this conditional acceptance, and they turn around and they become silent. Why is that? Because they can't answer it.
Right.
There's no way they can answer it.
So
Will
just
they even try? They won't even try.
so
And
yesterday.
then you go to the court, and you set the case up. You do it by making sure that everybody's on board, and you go to the court, and when it's all said and done, it's history for the health department.
Exactly.
Now, one of the other thing that we're doing is we're doing a multiplicity in California of every county health officer. And we will do the same thing with that. But we started with San Francisco because they were the first to get the mandates. And then once they put it out, within 2 weeks, everybody else around the United States started doing that. And so you guys have a little longer. Their deadline was August 12th. That was their deadline.
So
they're not being required to do anything until after the court case is done.
So SueAnne, so that multiplicity, so if that goes through in San Francisco, you're applying that to different counties around California. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, we started out, we were going to just do the counties. But the gentleman that has the website, he lives in San Francisco, and he's familiar with a lot of people there. And so they contacted him. And he went, oh, this would be a great opportunity to, and we're talking about, because one of the biggest challenges for most of us is the fact that whenever you're a government employee, you have a duty to the public, and they no longer want to help the public a lot of times. And so, but they don't realize the difference. They're just being told what to do, and they do it. Okay. Well, the Nuremberg trials proved that you can't follow what someone up above you tells you to do. And
it sounds like it's like with this, it's like you can hold the individual government bureaucrat accountable, or the hospital accountable, say, oh, under the Nuremberg Code or the Constitution, you do not fill these requirements. And until you prove that, I'm not doing anything.
That's right. Okay.
So I just want to say this because I'm coming off so I've been working with SueAnne for months, and yesterday, Zoom court call with this to go. I go in and I'm just like, I have all these things I know I'm going to say. I've already sent them all the letters, and this is just a speeding ticket. The stakes are much lower. And I go in and and the judge goes, put on a mask. And we're just in a Zoom call. And I was in a municipal building. I got walked in front of a computer where there's a judge on a Zoom meeting. And he goes, put your mask on. And in my mind, I thought, all right, just put your bandana on, like get this. And I felt all my energy draining. And then my Obi-Wan Kenobi, SueAnne, her voice was in my head. And she said, right before I walked in, she goes, don't do anything they tell you to do.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden, I had this energy come up and I looked right at him and I said, I'm not wearing the mask. He goes, okay, then we're going to postpone the court. I go, fine. And so then I had a Zoom meeting in my apartment and he said, the DA has to look at this, blah, blah, blah. And then my court was like a month later. What did he say to me? Oh, the DA didn't respond. And why didn't the DA respond? Because he knew he had no case.
Yep.
So that's where all of this is going. They don't have legal precedent, quite the opposite. They don't have a case, and people have to stand up and say, fuck off. We're not doing this. We're not fucking listening to your bullshit.
And so you can't even really say that like you won the case because they just kind of let it go. So you're not going to get the notoriety of saying that.
Right.
Like,
that's
you
right.
won it, but they're not going.
They're saving face.
Win. So
yeah, they want to save face.
Yeah.
They're not. But when you do the complaint that I did, his was just a traffic ticket. The complaint I did, I read that to you. It's very specific. You have rights. You were born with those rights. They're creator given rights. They cannot ever take them away from you for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do not stand up and say no, they're going to continue. And the moment they start continuing, they're going to also go farther later. So you can let it go on and on and on and on. Do you really want that?
What do they say?
I don't want it anymore.
Give them an inch, they'll take a yard.
That's right.
So here's the other thing, and just to be really clear, because we only have a few more minutes left, I just want to be real clear and hear what you have to say about this, SueAnne. What I heard you say a little while ago was they gave you a communication. You're a chiropractor, you're a nurse, you're whatever. You have to do this. You're mandated to do this. Okay, that's their communication to us. And you said, we communicate to them with these letters. So to me, the good news is, and I said this a few minutes ago, it's like the second you send the first reply back, the game is completely, it's over. It's not only, let's just say it's changed. At the very least, it's changed.
Right.
And they now have a communication from you. So there's nothing, you don't have to worry that it has to happen so soon. It's like, no, bitch, I already responded to you. Now, what are you going to do about it? And it's documented from the day you send that.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it. And that is absolutely true. Okay.
I think a lot of what people want to know is, you know, like, okay, this worked with the parking ticket. You're in court right now with the San Francisco mandates that are happening with the vaccine, and that sounds like it's going to be positive, and those people will be kind of freed. And it sounds like also this can work with taxes. What other things can this be applied to?
Building permits. To think of all of the wonderful things out there. You know, I mean, I started out with Department of Motor Vehicles. I sent a letter to the governor and everybody else in line, all the way to the local police chief. So that's my area that I'm really, really familiar with. But now that this information's come up on the vaccine, okay, and there's so many people who do not want the vaccine, okay. Even my sister, who's I'll go along to get along all the time, right? She's even involved, and
It's not a vaccine. It's not a vaccine.
we already know that it's
So it
an
looks like we have a
injection.
question. It looks like we have a question from Kimberly. I'd love to hear her question.
Sure.
Hey, SueAnne. I'm so sorry I missed the beginning of the call. I got caught at the grocery store longer than I thought I would be. Where do I go to find out about common law and how I can utilize that in my life?
Okay, it's called Commoner
Okay.
law.com.
Okay.
Okay. And they have, I think they have 3 or 4 videos that you can go through and take a look at different areas of it. And then if you're interested, then you give them your name and your email address, and then you go to another page in which they will ask you to donate $100, okay, to collect all of the information they have on that particular area, okay? And you get all of it with all the instructions, okay? You follow the instructions. If you have any questions, you do an email back to the to commonerlaw.com, and they will either answer it themselves because they know, or they will pass it on to 4 other people who know. Okay.
So that's a service for questions that are really specific, right? So
right.
Is that the same place I would go for general information if I just want to be studying common law, topics?
It's all there. Okay.
Okay.
And when you do this, you give them $100 to download the information. And then when you are, if you complete the process, they will return your $100.
What process?
The process of either a directive and direct and constructive notice with a notice of violation. It's that one.
Filling out the forms on the website.
Or you can do a conditional acceptance form, but you go through the entire process. And when you're at the end, and you can prove that you have sent it all out, they will send you back their money.
So just to be clear, what you mean is, and this may not be relevant to Kimberly or anyone, but you mean when somebody has something specific, like their job is telling them they have to take a mandate, then Kimberly, you start filling out the forms on that website. So you start the process, which in essence is saying, not doing this, sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, my current situation is that we are being mandated at my hospital, but my hospital has said, or there's someone from my hospital that has communicated that all I have to do is give a simple statement stating my religious exemption, and they will accept that.
And if you go to commonerlaw.com, they will tell you about that, and you're not going to like what they tell you. You don't want to get an exemption. The reason for the exemption, they will decide whether or not they're going to give it to you, and it's in their fine print. They say, and we will determine whether we're going to give it to you or not.
Right. It reminds me of that.
And if they don't give it to you, what are you going to do? So if you,
I'm gonna quit.
if you're, well,
or I'm gonna have them fire me.
or you can do the process, and neither can they fire you, because even after the process is done, they still can't fire you, because it would be considered, what is the term they use? Retaliation. and they don't want to look like it's retaliation. They could probably do it in 3 or 4 years, but by that time it wouldn't matter. Okay.
So don't you think it would be smart though to apply for the, not apply, but essentially that's what you're telling me, is that you give the religious you ask for the religious exemption so that they
Never.
so that they
Never.
have a,
No,
No,
you're
what
not
you do-
asking them shit.
That the thing is if you ask, okay, then they know they've got you under their thumb. And
right, but then you respond with the commoner law scenario.
right, but if you do the exemption, you've given up your rights.
I see.
And if you want to give up your rights, that's up to you. That's your prerogative. Okay.
Right.
SueAnne, are you saying you can't do the common law process after you ask for religious exemption?
No, well, basically you can't. You can do. Oh, listen to me. Everybody makes a mistake. All right. But and when you do make, and the thing is I just want her to go to the website and find
Start
all
strong.
the other answers there, because there are other things you can do. Okay. But the thing is that if you ask them for the religious exemption, they will determine whether or not they're going to give it to you. Number one.
And what does that even mean?
Well, they're going to say, are you, what religion are you with? And what is their philosophy? And,
Right.
oh, well, maybe it's not as
Well, by law, they actually cannot ask those questions.
And so why are you answering their question?
I'm not answering their questions. I haven't answered any questions because there's been
Right.
no questions asked of me yet. You know.
Not yet, but they will be asking you a question. Are you going to respond to that question by saying,
I'm
oh, I
not.
have a religious exemption? And they're going to say, she's under our thumb and we can do whatever we want to her. And then eventually they will force you into getting the injection.
Oh
Okay?
no, they won't.
And it's a matter. This is what they're doing is they're testing everybody. That's what
Right.
they're doing. This is a
Right.
test.
Boundaries.
So are you going to pass the test, or are you going to object to the test and say, wait a minute, first you're going to have to give me some answers. And once you give me the answer, then we can decide whether or not I'm doing this.
Right.
That's the way it works.
It reminds me of that sentiment with consent. No is a complete sentence.
Mhm.
It's like, why am I not doing it? It's like, because I said no, that's why.
Yeah.
So we've just got like a minute or two left. And so I really want to thank you, SueAnne, for providing this information. I think it's such valuable information. I would love to get this out to more people because no one knows about this. And yet it's vitally important. We've not been taught this in school, and most even lawyers aren't even educated about this. So I really want to thank you. And I'd love to continue a conversation in the future. We are doing kind of a meeting of other doctors and healthcare professionals and business owners. I'd love to have you on the call at some point. And so it sounds like, so much, there's great resources on that commonerlaw.com. So we'll write that down and make sure everyone has that site, and we'll look at that. And then I'd love to kind of touch base with you later, maybe through Garrett, and then we can determine kind of when we can get you back online.
Okay. Now know that we have had people all across America that have been on a Zoom call, and we had over 700 people at one time. So there are people who do know, and you just have to know that this has to spread, and the faster it spreads, the better off we're going to be.
I mean, this is the solution to so many different things.
Yes.
And it really starts, we don't have to wait for like a mass, collective lawsuit. I mean, we can really start it on an individual level and then move from there. So it's really such a powerful thing. So I want to just thank you so much for being on and being willing to talk to us. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
So real quick, people use the word ascension. This is the ascension. And I heard somebody at a freedom rally say, no, this is a descension. We're descending into ourselves, into our own sovereignty and our own power. And that's
Yes.
what we have to do. We have to be willing to take ourselves on, take our power on, and realize nobody's above you. Nobody's above you.
Garrett, okay, tell them how you felt the first time you talked to the judge. I've got it on my phone. That's the reason I know.
Oh, I was doing backflips.
Yes. And what did you say about how you felt when you, after you had talked to
Totally
that judge?
empowered.
Totally empowered. You also said, I felt like a king.
Totally. And you said
Yeah.
you are a king.
And I said, you are a king. Okay.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
It's
Not a peon.
It's 3:00 right now, so I've got to go.
Got it.
But I would love to continue this, and unfortunately, I think I have to end the call.
That's fine.
Can
But
you stop acting so serious, Dave? Thank you very much. I would like to end this formal call.
Yes. All right. We will talk later. And it was a pleasure. I
Yeah,
have to go
thank you
out
so
and feed
much.
I've got to go out and feed my horses. I was supposed to do that at 1. So
Well, thank you,
All
Sue.
right.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
you
Thanks,
betcha.
guys.
All right.
Thank
All right.
you.
Talk to you.